Okay, I believe we're live. Welcome, everyone. You guys know me. Yay! I'm Nancy Ganzikofer, business coach to interior designers and other entrepreneurs and certified body language trainer. I'm really excited today to have one of my clients here, Nicole Fulton of Nest Interiors in Wisconsin. So welcome, Nicole. Let's cheers to weekend wind down.
Hello. Cheers. Hi, Nancy. Happy to be here today.
Thank you for being here. And I'm glad you're drinking wine. I'm not the only one this time.
You don't have to ask me twice.
Let me see who's here. I know it takes a while for people to come on. Tanya said, hi, Heather. Hi, Tanya. She's saying 4:30 Central. Nope, 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central. So, hi, Heather. Hi, Jennifer. People come on and off constantly throughout the broadcast and, of course, watch on replay. So if you guys have any questions as we go along, please ask. So as I said in the beginning, I'm very happy to be here with Nicole. She's been I just looked up, you've been one of my clients since January.
It's gone fast because I feel like there's always like more questions and things I want to talk to you about and get your perspective on. So when you say it's January, it doesn't feel like that. It only feels like it's been a few months, but the impact on the business has been huge. And sometimes you're the voice in my head when I'm trying to do some policy changes about what would Nancy say?
No, I swear to God, I'm in the process of writing a book. Oh, we have Lauren from Mexico. Hi, Lauren. One of the titles I had, well, a couple of things. And one of my other one-on-one clients said to me, you should do a segment called What Would Nancy Say? And everyone just throws scenarios in there and you just take a topic each week and you do that live inside the Interior Design Business Forum, which is my private group of 47, almost 4,800 people now. So if you guys aren't in there, join there. And I thought, you know what, that's been weighing on my mind. Like maybe for the new year, that'll be one of my days. But that's what ends up happening, right? My goal is not to keep people forever. My goal is that you're starting to make business-focused profitability decisions without me at some point, and you start flying on your own, or you go into a post-client group or something like that. So tell them a little bit about your history of how you became an interior designer and what you have going on today. And then we'll kind of dive into when you came to me, what you were struggling with and all that fun stuff.
So I've been a designer for 26 years now, and I went to the University of Wisconsin here in Madison and didn't even know that design was a job. Like I didn't know that was something you could do for a living. And of course, I was flipping through the schedule when it was still paper back then, when you flipped through the calendar of what they were offering for classes, and I saw interior design, and it was like the clouds parted, and it was like that was the moment, because I had stacks of Architectural Digest. I'd made my own binders at home of the rooms I liked, but I didn't even know that was a job. So it sort of, as soon as I saw it, I knew that was the right thing. And I, as a lot of designers do, we work at it all day. We watch shows about design at night. We redesign magazines. We have design books. So it's one of those where I totally love it, and I still love it 26 years later. So I started 26 years ago with some residential firms. I worked with 3 over the years, and they did primarily, residential design, and it was a much more product-based situation and structure, as most design firms were at that time period. It was more about the product. And I think too, as our industry has changed so much over the last 20 years, I think that shift to service and that education to clients about the service and how that helps them and those things has sort of become top of mind for me. Mm-hmm. That has driven my business and sort of the path of that. In 2005, my son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum, and that's when I started working for myself because his therapy schedule was so intensive and hard. It was hard to have another job that I couldn't control the schedule around that. So that's when I started working for myself. And now I started working from home, and then I moved to a small studio that was just like a conference room and an office. And now we're in a full retail design studio showroom downtown in a small town in Wisconsin outside Madison. And we have a wonderful staff, and it really is a whole it was a slow build of sort of steps along the way. And it's been really, really rewarding.
What made you open up the retail store? Like, that's a huge, from being a home designer to a little studio. Okay, some people end up going back home then also. But then to open up a retail store, what drove that process?
Well, I think too is a lot of times, and as I think probably a lot of designers would feel the same way, is the quality. It is really hard for people to understand the quality of what we're presenting unless they can see it in person, because a lot of times you think it's an apples to apples situation, but when people can see the finishes and sit on the pieces and see the craftsmanship, it's such an easier conversation. And also too, a lot of times it just makes our clients more comfortable with what they're getting in their process. So for me, it felt like a natural extension of the design studio. And I felt like it was sort of a necessary arm to the business, and we feel like it's a good part of our service package.
But a scary leap when you're taking on rent and staffing for retail hours and bringing an inventory that may end up sitting with. So like, how do you, I know recently you made a change and we can jump right to that, but like, how do you manage that fear of what you're bringing in that it's going to go back out the door and you're not going to be sitting with it 10 years from now? Right.
Well, the good news is that we, in the office, we joke and we say we're old lady designers because we've been doing this for a long time. So the good news was this old lady designers, we kind of know the staples, the basics, the hardcore, good, solid pieces that we're always placing, whether it's an upholstery manufacturer or a particular frame and different permutations and things for clients, things that resonate with people and things that continue to resonate with people. So as designers, trendy really isn't our thing. Trendy is lovely for a small item, but we're with our clients for the long haul. We have clients for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So we want something that they're going to love for that amount of time. It's not necessarily about trend because they can get that anywhere. Why do they need a designer for trend? You can pick up Pottery Barn and see what the trend is. So as far as a designer, we want you to love it for a really long time, not just until there's a new trend. So it's one of those where as soon as people understand that and realize why we're suggesting these things and these finishes and these solutions, because we feel like it's a great layer to their homes that are really going to add value to everything they're doing.
I love that. And I did talk to someone yesterday about trends, and they were like trying to keep up on the trends. And I said, okay, and I get that, more for the love of keeping up on the trends and being able to talk about it. But when you go into a client's home, do the trends really matter? For most designers, right? Certain designers sell themselves on trend, but
if you do everything in a trend, you're going to have to change everything at the same time.
Well, there's actually a method that actually is interesting concept to a business model, right?
Well, I suppose there's something, but I don't want to place something with someone that they want to replace everything in 5 years. It's great if something that you love and that is maybe a little bit more trendy can come in. Of course, it gives you joy. It sort of re-energizes your space, 100%. But it shouldn't be like someone can walk in and say, oh, they did their house in 2019.
Right.
Like that's an epic fail from my perspective, because I feel like it should have room to grow with you and it should have room to expand and be a continual reflection of your style and your taste and your families and your home. So to me, there has to be room for that.
Yes. And how often do people come back to you to do the next step in their design process?
Well, we have some clients that are always doing a little something. They're always doing like, oh, now I want to tackle the bathroom, and now let's do downstairs, and now let's do the master bath. And, for us, that gives us joy because they have that trust and faith in us for sure. But sometimes we'll have clients that will work with them, and then when they move the next time, and then they'll call us back again. But we have, long-term clients. So it's for us, it's fun to see. I have a client that I did her daughter's room when she was 11. And I just did her apartment in Washington, D.C., and she's 25. So for me, that's super fun. And that's rewarding because you get to have that nice relationship with your clients and all the people that are important to them as well.
So I love that. That you're growing up with their kids too. I mean, that is just the coolest thing to see, and how their personalities have developed from when they were younger.
Absolutely. So
when you first came to me, do you remember what your questions were for me, like what your struggles were at the time? Because I think that one of what gets me is that when designers look in from the outside at other designers and they'll look at your website is fabulous, right? They'll look at your website and they'll be like, oh my God, she's got clients, she's got repeat clients, she's like got this, you know, she's got everything together. And yeah, you do have everything together in certain areas, but do you remember like what you came to me and what your struggles were?
Well, I think too is that I think part of it was there's so much noise. There's so much noise about business and about how to grow your business, how to make your business more profitable, how to, you know, sort of brand yourself and make sure that you're clear on your vision and how you're communicating that with clients. And a lot of us work for ourselves or in a small company, so a lot of those roles fall to us too.
Yep.
And it's really hard to know the right thing to do. It's hard to know and to sift through the information because so much of it doesn't apply to our industry and so much of it doesn't apply to our weird, you know, combination of service and product and project management and all those things that designers typically do. Right. There wasn't something that just spoke to that. And so it's so easy to get confused and you sort of start spinning and you don't actually get going on any one action plan because you're not sure which is the right one. So when I saw Nancy, I just knew that that was the right choice because she was so knowledgeable about our industry and the certain challenges that we face. And to me, that was exciting. I'm like, oh, somebody gets it, somebody understands. And so it felt like I could let some of that other noise fall away and I wouldn't have to pay attention to all of those things. And also having someone who was just talking to me and was just asking me questions about our business and sort of where our challenges were. And I think that was really refreshing and super exciting.
Well, thank you for that. I think that one of, you know, I always, you know, I'm the same as everyone else running a business, right? I struggle with what exactly do I do for people? How do I do it? And what do I call myself? And I go through all the same struggles. And who should I niche down to? In a way, I feel like I'm a generalist, but in the interior design industry, meaning I can teach you sales and marketing and pricing and systems and knowing your numbers. And then I can tell you where to go if you need more help for the deep dive, but whether you should deep dive. I mean, I had a conversation with one of my favorite clients yesterday, and I'm like, you know what, let's just go old school. Like, why are we trying to compete with all this noise when it's causing you so much strife? Like, let's just go old school with you and see how much we can do with just relationships with friends, neighbors, you know, someone who's been in business for a long time, like contractors, painters. When you've been in business for that long, everyone is like so focused. And I get it. Look at me. I'm all over the place, but I'm also a different type of business. But sometimes that old school marketing can work too. Sometimes it's Instagram. Sometimes it's Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Yes.
That's where I feel like when I come in and I look at the personality, the experience, the location, how you've built your business up to this point, what's worked for you, your interpersonal skills, your body language, your communication skills. Like, I look at all of that and then I go, where is this person going to be best fit to grow their business? And that's where having that eyes on, that's where I feel like sometimes I can distinguish myself because I've never been an interior designer and I'm proud of that. I was an art consultant. I was a personal trainer. I was a first vice president of a bank. My focus is always your profitability, your life work balance, and then how you can best sell and market yourself.
Right.
And everything that goes into that. So it's as a generalist in a way, but yet specific in interior design because I've been here for 23 years now. It allowed me to look at your business and go, okay, I mean, what do we need to do here? And one of the first things I said is you have all these products on your website.
Right.
And how is that? Like, how much money does that make you? Is it worth the staff that has to go into putting it up, shipping it out? And that's something you've started to fine tune now.
Absolutely. And it helps. It's just part of those conversations because I think we get used to doing things just the way we've done them. And it's just nice sometimes to take a step back and say, yes, that is always the way we've done them, but it isn't necessarily is it profitable and is it where you want to go? And I think that that's a really valuable conversation to continue to have with yourself because I think we get so busy with clients and making sure that we have good service and, you know, executing their projects that it's hard for us to give ourselves permission to take that step back and say, is this really the right direction? and then know why it is or isn't, because those are all really relevant questions and good information to have. And I don't think a lot of us take that minute to step back. I know I didn't, because you're just in the middle of executing and getting it done and making sure you're doing the best possible job for your client.
It's like you have to slow down the frenetic pace of your brain first.
Yes. Yes.
And in everybody's anxiety of running the business and giving the best service you can give, which you should give, but where you're putting your effort, is it reaping the benefit you actually thought it should be reaping, either financially or reputation of your company or customer service? All that other shit you're doing, like, can often be just tossed out the door. And I suffer from this too. This is how I know it, right? I suffer from the same thing. I'm doing all kinds of things. And now at some point, all of us as business owners have to sit back and go, okay, what has reaped the benefits?
Right.
Based on what my staff or I am putting my attention into. And then where next do I think is the best fit for my business and my personality and my profitability? And that's what we've been doing with you literally since January.
Yes.
And dealing with the day-to-day stuff that comes up too,
Of course. And, as part of that conversation, it helps me know where to make sure that we have good support on our staff. If those areas that are the most profitable, that's where we want to make sure we've got staff and man hours that are dedicated to that. And it allows some of those other tasks and other duties to fall off in a way that just as soon as we clarify it, it's like, oh, that's not necessary. We don't need to be worrying about that. Maybe next year, maybe January, but it doesn't take top of mind. So it's nice for me, but it's nice too, because staff can feel, all of our team can feel like they're getting the most out of their experience and what they're accomplishing too.
Right. And so you're juggling a family, a retail store, staff, your design clients, growing your business, your financials, your ordering, your design boards, your pricing models, which we've changed somewhat. Yes. And you're doing it. How are you doing it?
Well, it's one of those things too, is when you say it like that, sometimes it's like, okay, that is a lot. Like, no wonder that feels noisy, because there's a lot of things that are competing for time and energy. And it's, for me, it's all about, knowing at the end of the day, I'm very big with sort of, okay, and always the client interaction comes first. So even if that's the hardest thing that has to happen that day, that has to come first. But it's all about, I was realizing a lot that I was delegating the task, but I wasn't delegating the decision when we were talking with our team and working with our team, and I didn't even know I was doing it. And so I've really been trying to be mindful about not only delegating the task, but also delegating the decision and making sure they feel empowered to make that decision, so things don't end up back with me when they don't need to.
I love that, and I want you to repeat that.
So I wasn't even realizing it. And so then they feel so much more empowered, and I'm happy for that. They should feel empowered. And so that's been super helpful, of realizing that I don't need to touch things again. I don't need to talk about it again. So it's just been a little bit of a mindset shift, and that's been really nice. So
delegating not just the task, but the decision and the responsibility for getting it done. How did you release that control? Because we all know we're control freaks, all of us.
Oh, so much so. But I think too is that I took a hard look at maybe why I wasn't delegating the decision. And then as soon as I did that, I'm like, absolutely, they have enough information. They've got what they need. I trust them to do those things. And also too, in so doing, I can reinforce to them that I trust them to do it. And also too, it's not just with our team, it's even with tradespeople too. A lot of times sometimes there are decisions that need to come back from a design perspective, but not from an administrative perspective, those kind of things. So keeping that singular purpose of making sure that the things I'm doing are the things only I can do. And there was so much that was not what I needed to do. So many other people were better doing it than I was anyway. So letting those things go has been great, I think. And I'm going to continue to even do more of that, as I'm more aware and making sure that those things don't land back on my plate, because I was the problem. It wasn't anything else. I kept thinking, why is all of this back with me all along? I was making a mess of it.
But it does always start from the top down, but that was a huge mindset shift for you. But what I'm hearing without anyone even saying is because I know how people think is, yeah, but what happens when they make a mistake? And then it falls back on you. Like how do you handle that? You might as well just do it yourself.
Well, and I think too is there was so much of that in my mind that I think too is we did, I do a little bit of front loading about what the process might look like. And then I do have to let it go and know that some mistakes will happen and we'll figure those out. But a lot of times too, we've done a lot of doing repeatable tasks here at our office. We've done a lot with actually doing screen capture of those. We're doing a lot of videoing of some tasks that are repeatable tasks. So those are all available to everyone to look at, everyone on our team, and they can access that in our team Dropbox and they can see, oh, I forgot, how do I log into that one site and request that sample or return that piece and those kind of things. So by having the video there, they feel great because they can find the answer. And also too is it's not one more question that has to be answered maybe by me because I'm the most senior person in the building, so it's not, and it doesn't need to be. So those are also some procedural things is how is we, do invoicing, all those kind of things. So yeah.
Love it. So pricing. Business models. Let's talk about business models because I love something you said before we came on, which I feel like I should have known, but I didn't. I'm going to be honest. When I said to you, are you currently using Designer for a Day? Because I know I told you about the business model and you have the contracts, I think, but did you ever implement it? It's just not something that ever came up in our one-on-one coaching. And tell them your answer because this is another way Designer for a Day can be used that I have to be honest was not my idea. So tell them what you do.
No, it works really well for us. And so what we do is we use our Designer for a Day service with remodelers. We use it with builders. So they can use it to have all of their clients' decisions made and finalized. So they get a complete package of finishes, countertops, backsplash tile, sinks, faucets, all those things, appliances, all the things. So then when they're ready, they're not chasing clients for decisions. They're not chasing them. So their project runs much more smoothly and efficiently. Or for new builds, we do it for new home construction. Builders will hire us to do maybe Designer for a Day or maybe for Designer for 2 days. If we need to do exterior finishes, interior finishes, and we walk the clients through and we make sure that everything is flowing from one space, from one selection to another, so that when the home is built or the remodel is done, it's very cohesive and the clients have a lot more confidence in those decisions because we're having that conversation, why we would pick this, with that. And so then they don't feel like they need to revisit it either because they feel like, okay, I know why we did that in the moment. So it's one of those where, so the builders and the remodelers just build that into their pricing structure. So it's great because then we offer that service and the builder's happy and the client is happy and it makes their projects go smoother. So they like that too.
I love it too, because when I asked you how much you bill, it was not less than the range that I suggest people do Designer for a Day. So the range I suggest is between $1,500 and $1,800. And you're in there. And even though it's going to builders, because it's still your time.
Absolutely.
And you're working with the client.
And it could be time that we're working for someone else. So our time is our time is our time. So, but yeah, absolutely. And when I was setting that price, I heard your voice in my head. What would Nancy say? Well, that's not enough. That's not enough. Put that price where it should be. So, and I did.
I love it. And I'm going to say it right now, I will do in my group, the Interior Design Business Forum, or maybe in the membership site, I'll start recording what would Nancy say. Because it's probably the thing that I'm asked the most. You know, I have a client who doesn't want to pay me. What should I say? Or I have a client who's on the old pricing model. How should I handle that? Or I have a contractor who's not respecting me and I don't know how to get his respect. When I think about how often I'm helping people with individual communication issues that just naturally come up in a business, it's not that necessarily that they've done anything wrong. It's just you're dealing with people. Right.
Well, and also too is that sometimes, and as women, it's sometimes hard for us to understand our value and assert it. It's really hard for us to do that. And I've been doing this a long time. Of course, my time is worth that, and I am going to save them mistakes and time and heartache and headaches. So there is value there, and just reaffirming that value should be there. And I think even with clients that we've worked with before, and even builders we worked with before on your model, I just go back to them and say, "Here's the dealio. We're working on a new structure because we feel like it's better because you know what your pricing is going to be up front." I mean, and also too is they're not surprised then when the bill comes, because we used to bill, in arrears. Basically, we bill them up after.
That was one of the.
Plug your ears, Nancy. Plug your ears.
Do not bill in arrears. Do not bill in arrears. But yeah, that was one of the first things, and really, it's honestly probably one of the first things I change for most people when they come to me.
But clients don't realize how long it takes to draft something. They don't understand how long it takes us to really build that 3D model. And how could they? They haven't done it themselves. So it's so much easier when we put that price out there ahead of time. Then they're like, okay, then they can say yes or no. But it's not something that's a surprise later. So makes me feel better too. Yeah,
and we raised your prices, I believe, right at the beginning. I always raise everybody's prices. It literally is one of the first things that comes to my mind when I see how people value themselves. You've added designer for a day. What about designer on call, which is, you can call it whatever you want, where ongoing hours they can purchase themselves or you purchase on their behalf, because that can go in ongoing services for a client.
And so designer on call is mostly for those clients that are the 10-year and 15-year clients that they always have a little question. They're like, oh, my husband broke that lamp. And they call and say, Nicole, I need a new lamp. I need, that artwork, I hate it. I can't stand it for one more minute. Like, we finally have to do something about it. So when it's something that's smaller, those kind of things, we do designer on call for that kind of thing. And that's really for our clients that I'm very hesitant I don't ever suggest that to anybody that I haven't worked with before. That's just for somebody that I know is going to respect our time and, understands our process. That's not for a new client ever, so that's something that only the long-term clients sort of get into that lane. But the designer for a day is great. We do an Ask Us Anything package too, which is where people can work with us online. They can work with us via video conference too. A lot of times clients will say, I saw this blog post and I love that room so much that you did in that, but I really it was a family room blog post. I want to turn it into a bedroom. How do I do that? Can you help me? We're like, sure. That's our Ask Us Anything package. And then they can get on with us and show us pictures of they can, video their room for us, and we could talk about sort of concept and how you could integrate that into that space and taking those elements. So it's just a nice other feature, that we could, obviously I would love to build that into more. We do a few of them now, but it's just a nice option for people that are maybe trying to get some of our products online. So
yes. Is your dog around?
Yeah.
I hear is that your dog I hear?
That's some of our team they're closing up for the weekend. So they're making everything look fabulous and sparkly in the showroom. So
I want to go back to that last service. What did you call it again?
Ask Us Anything.
Ask Us Anything, because sometimes I think, and this is what happens when you listen to too many things out in the interior design world. They may go, oh my God, that's fantastic. But the reality is that's not the lion's share of your business. That's like a nice supplement.
No. And it's a way too, if someone calls and they don't want to commit to a big package and they want to just come in and meet with us for an hour in the studio and talk with us about some challenges that they're having at their home. A lot of times once they meet with us and sort of understand what we can offer and how we really truly are going to listen and make their project a true extension and really personal for them, then it will change into a different type of project. But sometimes people just need an hour of our time, and they just want to sort of get affirmation on some choices they've made, or, so that's an in-studio service that's only in studio, or if I'm at my desk and they can, video conference me here.
I like that too. I think it just gives you another stream of income that's available if you decide you don't want to go to their house. And what's your stomping ground? How many miles?
Well, we do everything in the Madison area, which is usually about 30 to 40 mile radius. We do some things in Milwaukee area. We've done some things in Chicagoland, but not regularly. Those are kind of some sporadic, but really within about 60 miles of our location here, we do a lot of that.
Okay. And recently you're deciding to start changing the mix, excuse me, of your retail space and your design space. Talk about that.
Yes. So it was really kind of struggling with what should get pride of place in our retail store versus our design showroom. We were kind of out of space in part of our business that we'd allocated for the design showroom. And so I went to the University of Wisconsin. Their business school has a small business division, and they really kind of dive in. They're like the Nancy Ganzikoffer of academia. Like they kind of like, okay, it's all about the spreadsheet, like what's the percentage of your business versus how much percentage of that is in your store and in your showroom. And it let me think about it in a completely different way. And so what I saw in that, analysis was that a lot of things that were a really big part of our business had very little square footage in our store, in our showroom. So that allowed me to be like, okay, know where we can focus. We need to bring window treatment samples up, much more visual, much more display, all those things. And all of our furniture fabrics need to come forward and be more pride of place. So it was a really nice thing because it just made it really clear for me
to focus just on the numbers. There's no emotion involved. What you may like. I love to sell this, or I don't love to sell that, or that's just so pretty. It's literally based on the bottom line.
And I think as someone who's creative, there's so many beautiful things out there, and we want them all to be in our space. So it's nice to just have somebody say no.
Well, I'm really good at saying no, but that's part of also. You haven't met with her yet, but I have a sub coach, Megan, who does a Profit First Light lesson, which I teach a version of Profit First, but Profit First Light. Basically, I've just read the book and I like it, but I knew that 7 bank accounts was just way too many for most people, including me. So I tweaked it for interior designers. And then Megan is a Profit First professional, met with her, and I gift sessions to her when my clients get to a certain level. And the reason why I bring this up is because that's what her focus is. It's like she'll take all the emotion out of anything you're saying, and she's just going to show you your numbers. But your numbers are looking pretty good.
They are doing good. And I think after working with Nancy too, and really getting focused on some of our service packages and those things, we're targeted to be up 20% over where we were at the same time last year. So I'm really excited about that. And it's just exciting to see that the changes we're making are making a difference. And that's sometimes the hard part, because you just don't know if what you're doing is going to impact the business, and seeing it come to fruition is really, really, really exciting.
Yeah. And I think, part of whenever you're changing the mix in your business, coaching with somebody like me, you got to have a level of patience.
Right.
Because, I love when people, it's like, okay, I'm going to use the analogy. When someone meets with you once and they're like, oh, wait, isn't my design done? Right. And they'll meet with me once or twice and be like, nothing's happening. Like, there's so much more to do, Right. Rarely do I get a client like that.
Well, and I always tell clients too, is like, we have to bake the cake first before we frost it, because it has to be a really, really good cake. It can't, because we don't want to frost a bad cake. So let's make sure the cake is everything that it needs to be, from function and flow and all those things, before we frost anything. So I think that's kind of the analogy I use a lot. And then they're like, okay, I can see that. So, and then the frosting is coming.
Well, yeah, it's like it's like accessories and artwork, which is what I used to sell. I'd be like, it's the jewelry on the outfit.
Right.
Like without it, it falls flat. But you're basically, your analogy of a cake, I always say it's like building the foundation of a house. You can't build the business when the foundation is not solid. And I will tell you, it's the end of the year. And what I normally start putting my clients through is, if they've been with me for long, is redoing your business plan. Guys, it's time to redo your business plan again, because what you've learned, whether you're doing it with podcasts and weekend wind downs and blogs and whatever you're doing, it's really important for you to reevaluate yourself every single year. I'm going through it now. What are the programs that I've put out that people have wanted? Which ones are most successful for my clients? Which ones have made me money? And I go, okay, let me now figure out what my next year is. It's time. It's November. It's November, right? Everyone should be starting to reevaluate, and even your ideal client, because over the year, like, has your ideal client changed? Has it felt different? Do you feel like tweaking it?
Well, I think that a lot of understanding our own value has helped us find our ideal client much faster, because when we talk with them about our service, our process, and also too giving them the package price up front, it's very easy for the not ideal client to just be like to sort of self-select out of the process. And a lot of times when we were billing in arrears, we would get in 4 or 6 weeks with a client that wasn't maybe an ideal one and not know it until that point. So it's a lot easier for us to know the ideal client, who's ready to value us and ready to get engaged in the process and invested in it. And that helps us because they are so much happier with the process too, because they're ready to go. They're ready to really focus. They're ready to decide. They're ready to move forward. And that's exciting too, because we feel like we're really affecting some change for them too. So that's helped us find our ideal client much more quickly, for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. And, you know, the fact that you have a staff also, and you're teaching them how to value the worth of your company and where their role is. I mean, one of the first things we implemented with you was staff meetings.
Yes. And it was super helpful because right away, I was after about, 3 months in, I'm like, so Nancy, why exactly did you want me to have those staff meetings every week? Because I thought I knew the answer. And she's like, well, sometimes you can tell that staff is not an ideal fit. And that had been where I got to. And that was really surprising to me because as we were meeting on a more regular basis, I could see where some of the snags and the hurdles were and where something wasn't maybe moving efficiently. And that was a really good process that I brought a lot more light to that. And it gave me a lot more information about how to make sure our team was really working in best synergy and with best information and all those things. So, and I'm like, well, I thought that was going to be your answer.
You know what it is? It's funny because people don't realize that taking the time to have a staff meeting actually saves them a ton of time over a week.
It does.
So much communication happens. And when you have that group feeling, you know, there'll be people who throw other people under the bus, and it's okay because then you get the pulse of other people's feelings. And is this consistent? Is this something you can guide them through, train them further to handle? Where are the discrepancies? Who's handling more than somebody else without the support that they need? When you're trying to manage everyone individually, it's often not able to be as a parent.
Yes. No,
right?
It's been super helpful for us. I think that is a huge change in our whole business. And I'm always surprised when I do the agenda for the weekly meeting. And I don't just do it. It's not just me. Our business manager helps with that, but there's always something I'm adding to it. But it's always amazing to me how much is on it. I'm thinking when we first started, I'm like, do we really need to have staff meeting every week? Well,
I know. When I said it to you, you're like, ooh. Like, all right, I'll do what you say, but
it's been so helpful and sort of keeping us all on track and sort of reminders of what our vision is and why we're doing things and why we're changing things, and sometimes creating that maybe extra layer of work in the moment to save us a ton of work in the long term. So it's really nice.
Definitely. And to establish the corporate culture, right?
Absolutely.
From the top down. When they see how hard you work and how kind you are and that your focus is the customer and getting those things done. But we also have to think about profitability.
Right.
Right? It can't be, we're just here to serve the clients and everything's hunky-dory and they don't understand what it's doing to your bottom line. Not that you're opening up your bank accounts to them.
Right.
It's okay to share with your staff once in a while, like when something worked really well.
Absolutely.
And didn't.
And give them and have the opportunity to tell them, you know, that was amazing. You know, that I heard you speaking with that client that was a walk-in, and oh my gosh, you totally rocked it. Like you knocked it out of the park. just that layer of extra question and the extra time you're willing to take. And so that's so nice to not wait longer than that week, because everybody works hard, and it's so nice to hear nice things, and hear them often, because everybody is working so hard that there's I don't want it to just be when we're talking about things when there's a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And that people, believe it or not, and I took a ton of management courses in my 20s and 30s when I worked in the banking world. And people don't focus as much when they're working for somebody on how much their paycheck is, if they're getting a positive self-esteem boost on a regular basis and having that camaraderie.
Sure.
And that's right. That's more important to people sometimes than how much they're making, is being appreciated.
Well, and to feel valued, that your contribution is valuable. Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember I asked my staff at one point, I think it was the beginning of this year, when I do meet with them as a group, and then at times I meet with them individually to help them through a project that I have a dog hair flying. I'm just not waving them. I'm not crazy, people, although sometimes I'm crazy. And I said to them, what do you like to do that I may not know you like to do?
Yeah.
And one of my staff, Sally, said, I love Pinterest. And I was like, really? Like, I have a Pinterest, but I have never done any, I did it for I don't know, a year at some point in my life in the past when I wasn't working as much. And then I just let it go. I love Pinterest. I'm on it every night. I said, really? I'm like, well, why don't you start a Pinterest board for us? And now we're up to almost 900,000 views or pins or whatever that she's got all the statistics. And it is the number one driver to our website.
Isn't that amazing?
Because I asked my staff, what do you like to do? So sometimes, and this is where part of the analysis comes in when I'm working with somebody, like, what do you like to do? And when I hear that might just be your best marketing avenue, if that's what you like to do, rather than trying to force something that you think everyone in the industry is doing and you should be doing it.
Versus the thing that is bringing your staff true joy, and when they come to work, there should be some joy there. I mean, life is too short to go to work and not have something that's positive and rewarding there too. So I think that's a great idea, is to sort of figure out where they're most enjoying their role.
Yeah. And do you think your staff, I don't know, I've never asked you this, does your staff bring you or refer you people when they know people who need?
Sometimes.
And you're not running those circles. I'm just asking.
Sometimes, yes. I think too is a lot of times, we are some of our crossover and some of our clients know each other, and there's crossover that way and stuff. So it's sort of hard to sort of sift down where the clients are coming from. But yes, absolutely. I mean, and also too is they're the face of your business out there in the world. And so when you have a great team, then you're so confident with how they're representing everything that you've working hard to do out in the world as well.
Yeah. I think that when they're happy, that energy is going to be portrayed, because you have a retail store too, right? So How much of your business comes from the retail side? I'm going to put the dog down for a second. She's making me sweat.
From the retail side, strictly retail sales, it's less than 10%. Strictly retail, but it's hard but we sell from the retail pieces. That drives a lot of our design sales. A lot of our design custom sales come from people being able to sit on it, feel it, touch it in the showroom. So it's not a pure number, for lack of a better word, but just strictly retail sales, it's less than 10%.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this, and you have a very reasonable rent, and it acts as your design studio. And part of what you're going to be doing is changing the configuration.
Yes.
Yeah, because you need more design studio space.
We did give a hard look at it though, because when I saw that number from when I was working with the University of Wisconsin, I'm like, well, that's a ridiculous number. And so what we did was we closed our store, is not open now on Saturdays and Mondays. And so that allows our staff to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more energized when they are here, because we're not all stretched so thin. And it also allows me to be out on appointments, out on job sites all day Monday without any conflict for in the store and those kind of things. So that really allowed us to have the confidence in that decision, because it just wasn't generating enough to cover the cost of staff and all the things that come along with being open on a Saturday. So we do appointments. We do appointments if somebody wants to meet on a Saturday, but we're just not open for regular retail hours on Saturdays anymore.
Okay. And life-work balance, how are you managing there?
Well, you know, I always like to be doing better there, but I think that, you know, knowing yourself and where your best time of day, where you feel the most creative and productive, and really giving yourself room in that time, you know, and for me, that's really early in the morning. That's like 5:30 to 7 is my most productive time of the day. You know, there's no noise, there's no phone calls, there's nobody needing breakfast, those kind of things. So that's for me a super productive time of the day. And then, you know, just knowing how your rhythm goes on that. And then I have the time to be there with my son, you know, later in the day, and I can be present for him. So it's just, you know, and it's always trial and error. You know, you do your best and you kind of keep tweaking it and hoping you're getting it right.
You know, someone's saying the live is frozen. So I just want to check to see if we're frozen. Are we frozen for anyone else? Everyone just weigh in. Well, if I don't hear from you, I guess I'm frozen. So let us know if you can still hear us. We're still seeing each other and we don't look frozen to ourselves. I think one of the most amazing things, and I don't think, okay, so it must be just Linda's computer maybe. So hopefully she resets. But I don't think I've ever seen you not made up and having your makeup on and your hair done. Do you know that?
Well, that's really amazing because I feel like I'm a hot mess most of the time. So thank you.
I'm thinking I come on no makeup, hair in a ponytail, pajamas half the time. No, I'm not pajamas, but like once in a while workout clothes. But you know, you're my client, so I'm just like, you already know me. I don't have to look perfect unless, well, I never look perfect, but I don't have to be makeup and hair unless I'm doing a webinar or a live. And even then, I go live in my group with no makeup on. But I don't think I've ever seen you not.
Well, thank you. I didn't realize that.
I just realized it when you were saying your best time is the morning. I'm thinking, I don't think I've ever seen you just, you know, maybe you don't do ponytail, but no makeup, but.
Oh, I do.
You do.
Absolutely. Big sweatshirts and all those things. Absolutely. So sometimes that's my 5:30 to 7. That's when I'm in all my big, like, you know, fluffy socks. And yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, the bottom line is we're all real people. I wanted to talk about retail prices.
Yes.
Versus the internet prices.
Yes.
And I think this is one of the things everybody struggles with. And I did tell a client today, like, unfortunately, the interior design industry is changing.
Yes.
And we all know that. That's not news to anyone. But you do have to often incorporate that Google search in when you're pricing things. Because you want to at least have knowledge of how you're pricing and be able to relay the reason for that should you be questioned. Should you be questioned. I do not believe in revealing your margin on your furnishings. And I teach everybody that. Just it's a price of the furnishings. We'll let you know what it is. You pay us for it, and we'll deliver it and handle all the problems. Yes. So how do you manage that?
Well, it's one of those things where it has changed at light speed. You know, not even in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years, in the last 1 year. And there's all these new sites now that are really, really selling products that only used to be available to designers. Only. You know, all those things that, you know, so I usually do a quick search to see if something is available online. But what we really try to do is educate our clients on that level of service, because it's coming broken. Everything's coming broken, or it's not assembled and no one's able to do it, or the driver literally pushes it off the back of the semi and that's your delivery. You know, it happens all the time. So we try to make sure people understand the service piece and that we do handle all those things. But what we've really done is now when we do the Google search on where things are available, it does make us a lot more informed and gives us good questions to ask our sales reps, saying, now where else is your product available? And that's a really good way for them to know that this is hurting the business that they're trying to build with us, the relationship that they maybe already have built with us over the last 5 or 10 or 15 years. So we have those conversations with our sales reps as they come in to see us quarterly or twice a year. But also too is we've really implemented 2 lanes in our business. You purchase with us and you have a design package for our time, or you just have a design package for our time and you purchase on your own. But where we were so tangled up was people would buy some things from us, they would buy some things themselves, and it was a hot mess because it never really stayed in those lanes. Even when somebody bought something on their own, they still were going to talk to you about the finish. They were still going to talk to you about when it should come, and they were still going to talk to you about all. And it was one of those where it was hard for us to manage our time on that. And of course, so now we do, you purchase with us or you purchase on your own. And we respect it if you want to do that on your own, but we can't be half pregnant here. You know, we
I love that.
half one and half the other because it's just so complicated, and the correspondence back and forth. And then the client's like, is this the same size? Should it be this size? And it's one of those where it keeps us from our primary goal, which is really good service, because we're being pushed and pulled with questions and directions and all those things. And we say to clients a lot, like, you might find something for 10% or 20% less on that one Tuesday at 5 a.m. on that site if you click the button at the right moment.
Right.
Great. But also, too, is you're not seeing over here where we're saving you 30, 40, 50% on something in some things that you might not be able to get anywhere else in the first place.
That's a really good point, Nicole. Say that again, that
Yes.
they might see one of the products is a little more than they found it on the internet at one moment in time. However, say that again.
But also, too, is you might not be seeing over here where we're able to extend some of our designer pricing to you to give you the best possible solution, because we're being really mindful of your budget and the overall picture as we're putting all the parts and pieces together. So when we're able to give you a much higher quality product over here, and you're not seeing that 40% savings. So we have that conversation up front as we're talking about how their design project looks. Is it just service? Great. We'll give you your shopping list and, you know, fabulous. Or do you want us to manage it and purchase and execute for you too? And then this is how that works, because it's a lot of work. As anybody knows, it's a lot of work. And also, too, is that sometimes the client is, well, what's the construction on that? And is it, you know, like, well, those are all the things that we're taking on for you. So that's been.
And you're the one interacting with the contractor, with the builder, with the painter, with the window treatment people, or if you're not doing that yourself. It's, you know, I was an art consultant. The designer is the one interacting with me. I'm not going to the residential homeowners. It's back and forth with me, and all that time. And we were talking before, because it was actually the second conversation I had today. I coach many types of businesses. Some people don't know that, but when they, you know, because I market to interior designers, but I coach a lot of other kinds of businesses. Interior design businesses is hands down one of the most complicated business models that takes so many nuances and adjustments along the way, not only every time the market changes,
Right.
but sometimes, even though you have your base business models, and everyone knows I teach, you know, designer for a day, designer on call, and full service design, the way I teach them. However, I have a multitude of clients that exactly the way I teach them as a template may not work for them, and we have to tweak it.
Sure.
And things do need to be tweaked. So as CEO of your own business, even though this is what Nancy says, there are times you have to go, this is still profitable. She'd still be happy with the way I'm laying this out, but I need to tweak this one area.
Right. Absolutely. And it's one of those things too, is usually I have to be able to tell you why I did it though.
Yes, you
It's
do.
a really good reason.
I know. You'll look at me and go, oh, wait, just hear me out. I have a good reason. I'm not that tough.
It was. But I think that that's such a good conversation to continue to have. And it raises awareness on our part, especially because every client is different and how you interact with them is different. And it's one of those things where you have to determine the best path for you and that client and how you're going to communicate with them. And it's just like that sometimes things do need to be tweaked in the way that it still respects your business and respects your plan and respects you and your time. And as long as it's within that, it can be flexible, but it still has to do all those things first.
Has to protect your profit.
Yes.
That's where I'm all about, right? Protect your profit, because you want to be there for that client who calls you next year.
Right. Oh, 100%.
Right. And somebody said to me the other day, like, it's a repeat client. What do I do? What do I say? The pricing models was drastically different from before they worked with me. And well, even before when they worked with this client years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to say I could be here for you today because I've changed my business model and I'm now profitable.
Yeah.
If I had stayed with the business model that I was using for all those years, it's very possible that I would not be here today to be able to help you.
That's a great explanation. That is a great.
What would Nancy say? That's what Nancy would say.
That's what Nancy would say.
Right? Because that's the honest truth. When I was an art consultant, there were designers who didn't want to share, less with me. They shared art consultants, but they didn't want to share their workrooms, or they didn't want to share their cabinetry. I can't say that word.
Sure.
Because they were like, well, then if I share him and he's busy and he's not going to be available for me. And I'm like, guess what? If you don't share him, he's not going to be available for you because he's going to be out of business.
Right.
Like,
right.
You know, you want to share your industry partners. As a past industry partner, I saw many go out of business because of that secretness that used to go on in the industry.
Sure.
I have to tell you, it's a big change now.
Well, and I also think too is that other tradespeople, you know, other cabinetry or upholsterers or workrooms and things, I think the thing is, if you've built a good relationship with them, if they know that you value their time and their skills and all of those things, they're always going to have time for you. You know, the maybe the noisier kind of maybe designers that aren't as respectful of their time and don't value them as much, there might not be time for them, but there's always going to be time for someone who respects them. And I think that as designers, it's hard. Sometimes we don't remember that we are treating them all well, and they will do the same for us too.
Very good points, because you know, when I had designers, and all the industry partners have designers at times that'll try to get us down in price. And you do that battle too many times with me when I was an art consultant, and I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, I don't have time for you. Like, you can go elsewhere for your artwork, because I have clients who actually appreciate and can, you know what it is? I think it's usually, and this is, I think, what I teach the most out of everything that I teach, the thing that's most impactful is communication skills.
Okay.
To be able to understand the words you need to say to a client to get your value, right? So it's charging your value, but it's really about the confidence behind being able to say, like, do you have any problem at this point saying what you charge?
No, I did at first when we changed our model, because it was just new and I wasn't sure how to communicate it, and I wasn't sure how it was going to be received. And it was just a change, you know, and like I said, old lady designer, I've been doing it a long time.
A lot of old ladies, stop saying that.
I've been doing it a long time that way. So it was a whole like cosmic mind shift on my part as far as how to communicate about our services with people. And as soon as we started doing that, it's been a big, huge, gigantic change for our business. And it's brought a lot of clarity to what we do for clients, how our business needs to move forward. And that's been really, really exciting.
And there are more changes to make, but you are so far along at this point. I really am. I am so proud of you and the changes that you've made and the changes that are coming and pending, because we're focusing on the right things, on the bottom line, on the profitability of the customer service, and providing like service that you can be proud of all the time.
Well, absolutely. And that's what brings us joy, is being able to provide a service that we're excited about, that people understand that and they pick up on that we really are excited about what we do. And we want to work with you and give you the best possible solution. And people understand that. So when we are less conflicted and worried about the noise and how to go forward, we have, it sort of lightens us a little bit, I think, in every way. And it's sort of, people can see that we're just more confident and excited and ready to roll.
Yeah. And I think, I didn't implement those weekly meetings. So I meet with my clients once a month, twice a month, or 3 times a month, my one-on-one clients, depending on the urgency, the needs, what's going on in their businesses at the moment. But I added that weekly half an hour group check-in on Mondays for my one-on-one clients where you all see each other, whoever decides to show up. Some people never show up. Some people do show up periodically. Other people show up consistently. And I think that has made a big difference. I know in my business model, I feel more connected to you guys also.
Yeah. I love it because it's one of those where there's so many things in our business that are true for everybody, you know, true challenges that everybody's having or things that someone's trying to solve and they're not quite sure and they've tried this. And so it's nice to even hear what other people are asking you in those office hours every Monday. It's just fun to hear other people's questions because it's almost always relevant to something I'm doing, a challenge I'm having, something I'm trying to solve myself. And also, too, it's just a nice group of people, and they're all encouraging and just, you know, excited to be doing what they're doing and also excited for everybody else's success. And that's really fun. So it's nice. It's kind of a great way to start the week because you're like, okay, I now know what Nancy would say.
And what I say last week, I went, I don't want to be at work today. Do you? But then we talked it through. Like, you know what? We all have to go to work. We're all going to make it work. And by the end of the half an hour, we're all like, okay, let's go. What are you getting done? What are you getting done? And that's the joy.
It's just a nice way to kind of as a sounding board and other people sometimes have solutions or things they've tried or it's a nice energy. And I really love that. That's kind of a really nice added layer of your coaching service. I really like that a lot.
Yeah. And I really enjoy it too, because I stay connected and it motivates me every Monday as well, right? To see you guys and what you're going to do. So, all right. We've been talking an hour.
Wow. That was fast.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, thank you for being here, Nicole.
Thanks for having me, Nancy.
I love having my clients. I kind of mix you guys in. Next week is Wendy. I never say her name right. Wendy W. Walchuk. Sorry, Wendy. So thanks for stepping in. She was supposed to be this week and she had to postpone because of a calendar mix up. And I reached out to you and you so graciously said yes. So I appreciate it.
I'm always happy to. It's always wonderful talking with you. And I was happy to be here.
And this is your practice to get to do videos soon.
I knew you were going to say that.
Just so you know.
Take the Band-Aid off, Nicole. Just get into video. I will.
It is one of the things I like to do with my clients when I feel they're ready to start doing maybe a little bit of video. I ease them into it by throwing them into the weekend wind down pond. So you've been baptized.
All right. Now I'm ready.
All right, guys. I will talk to you next week. Thank you again, Nicole Fulton from Nest Interiors. Look up her website. It's fabulous. And I will see you guys in the group, the Interior Design Business Forum, or here next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.